This is going to be your guide to using the Raider in Elden Ring Nightreign. So you're the big, beefy boy dealing big, chunky damage, going for the staggers and going for the knockdowns on enemies while trying to reduce damage upon yourself. That goes into your main skill, Retaliate. So it doesn't really look like much in the training grounds, but it's also pretty awesome because you can't be knocked down while using it. So you can just like eat a huge hit from a boss and then go for some really big poise damage on the retaliation. And also, it's really good because you have damage reduction while using it. So if you know you can't really dodge out of it, or if you just need to like stay in the fight and soak a hit, you can use it for the damage reduction, you can use it for the poise damage. So a big thing about getting good with Raider is like using this ability more and more and finding the opportunities where it actually works instead of it just feeling underwhelming and like you don't really have a skill at all. And the biggest thing with combat is when you're actually in raid, you run out of stamina quickly. So you're going to be wanting to look for stamina upgrades. That way you can actually finish off your axe combos instead of running up, getting a hit, and then you're out of stamina. And then the biggest thing is that you want to charge in with your heavy attack because it's going to get you on the enemy, it's going to do damage, and it's going to preserve stamina instead of like running up, running around, trying to do like a jump attack to get a big hit off on them. You don't want to do that. You just want to charge in with your heavy attack, and then you want to do some follow-ups on the combos. Now, your ultimate ability summons this giant totem, which does a lot of damage and has a crazy amount of utility. It gives high ground for your team, but you need to make sure you're, like, jumping at it from the right angle at the right time, or else you might have a hard time getting up here, that if, like, you're going from a lower ground into a higher ground, you might not be able to get it. But if you jump from the side that has the, carving on it, then you should be able to get up a lot more reliably. But the biggest thing about it is that you are completely invulnerable throughout this entire casting animation. So if you want to clutch, you save this for like the, oh, I can't dodge this attack, it's a wipe from a boss enemy or something. It's going to knock back enemies, and also the damage is really good at reviving teammates. So if your teammates get down, this will automatically just do 1 bar of damage, or at least like the first bar of damage. So you can get instant revive, you can give them high ground to jump up on if they're like casters or ranged, and it's also going to be really nice for just negating boss damage. As for your weapon, you start off with Endure, which also is just like quick little damage reduction to stay in the fight, use it. You can also replace it with a relic, which I think is recommended. You don't really want to keep this weapon for too long. Alright, so while we got a little bit of time as things are closing, made it to the first boss, you just want to go for upgraded two-handed weapons and then things that boost all of that. So hit point recovery, very nice. Improved attack power when two-handing. That's the big one. Damage negation at full hit points, especially if you have some kind of health recovery. And then item discovery just to get more and more good stuff. And then, like, yeah, the gameplay is you just play two-handed shenanigans and you be big, beefy boy. But yeah, so you can, like, run in, get that charge attack, do a little bit more combo, get some stagger and then critical hits and fun stuff like that. While you're waiting to get some stamina back, you can also use your ability. So, like this, we just, like, tank it, punch, hit them, get a huge knockdown into a crit. So, like, that just happens as normal gameplay, and then it's really just about weaving all of that stuff together in a comfortable way and not dying. So, unfortunately, Cavalry is a really bad matchup for you. Just kind of, like, hope you can get aggro, or if there's, like, some kind of stagger, you get a small chance to do something. Maybe you tank, maybe a punch lands. Or also when one, like, dismounts, and that's going to be your primary target, hopefully. So yeah, that's how you use the counter right there. Big uppercut. Huge hit. This thing's just ridiculously fat, though, it seems. And I know a lot of people aren't going to like hearing this, especially in a guide, but the rest of it is kind of get good. It's still Elden Ring. Picking a tanky class doesn't change that it's still Elden Ring. The upside is you don't immediately get one-shot, and your higher poise lets you take a couple of hits if you get overwhelmed by enemies, but if you're winding up a slow two-handed weapon attack, you are going to get punished for it. And if you get followed up or comboed out, yeah, it kind of didn't really matter, and now you can be a liability for the team, or you're drinking too many potions and you're just running out of utility, that it can kind of be a mental trap, and you can see it on the gameplay. I'm playing horribly right here because I just want to get in and beat things up. I'm hoping, like, yo, if I just keep swinging my axe, they're going to get knocked down, I'm going to do enough damage, and we're going to finish this one up pretty quickly. But your class still isn't that. you need to be strategic. You need to wait out the opponent's attacks. There's still the Souls-like dance going on that you have to wait for the opponent to use an attack, and then you get a little bit of punishment inside of it. Stamina management also makes this a kind of tricky class to use. That if you spam a million tumbles and then you find your opportunity to get in on the enemy, well, now you're out of stamina and you're just using like one hit, waiting a second, one hit, waiting a second. So you also have to have a lot of discipline to let your stamina meter refill, and then you pop off on a combo, and hopefully you have enough time to accomplish that. And then you can use your Retaliate if it's like, okay, the enemy is on me, they're charging up their big hit, that's where I'm going to punch them with the Retaliate. Or if you're in the middle of a combo or trying to like run up with an axe attack, and then you can see like you're about to get punished, spam the Retaliate, and hopefully that kind of bails you out. So you want to find the passives, weapons, and skills that are going to augment your durability and allow you to be more productive inside the fight, but you also don't want to get trapped into, I'm immortal, I'm unkillable, I stat check everything, because at the end of the day, literally, you're not going to be able to stat check everything, and if you drink all of your flasks, well now you're the melee that can't do anything but hopefully not die, and then you're just going to feel like a really big liability, and that's not good. And then some final notes. Here's your attributes. You got A for hit points, A for stamina, S for strength, C for dexterity. So that's what you mostly want to be looking for. And then it just comes down to, yep, memorizing and remembering equipment stuff. It also shows the preference for great axes, great hammers, and colossal weapons. So just because it's two-hand doesn't mean the Raider is going to want it. The Wilder wants the great swords, and then you want to stick with the hammers, axes, and colossal weapons. And if you need a reminder for those, that is what the visual codex is for. Now, you want to use the great hammers, but I've also had a lot of success with just axes. That the scaling is still really good, and your attributes allow for like quick, spammy axe attacks. So that's where you want to use the grease as well. You put on some kind of status ailment, and then you just pop off. I've had a lot of success and a lot of fun with the warped axe, and then Ice Rind Hatchet with the Frost Stomp is still just broken, so that's really fun to use. At one point, I found a standard axe that had Scarlet Rot affinity on it, and we just popped off with it. Can also dual-wield axes, so just because it says, like, oh yeah, preference is going to be great axes and great hammers and stuff, it's still random loot, so if you don't get a really good great axe, it could just be better to dual-wield or use a faster, high-strength scaling weapon. Also, because of your very high strength, you can get away with dual-wielding great weapons, so that's going to be another thing you really want to consider and incorporate into your build. I know I'm not showing it during my gameplay throughout this video because it's something I'm still trying to adjust and get used to, but also if you find a weapon that has a passive for increased two-handed damage, that's also going to be pretty nice too. And then for relic rights, it's mostly self-explanatory on what feels or sounds good. Like, I wish I had something that gave me attack power with 3 axes equipped. And then augments to starting weapons, where if you can get a really good skill for a melee two-handed weapon, I'm just like praying there's a Wild Strikes relic out there, and then we can just like start off crazy. So you gotta farm, you gotta grind, you gotta pray to RNGesus, and for your remembrance, the Raider's Chalice is pretty good, so you get 2 reds and a rainbow. Then we also have the Goblet you can buy, which gives you a bit more diversity, and then your standard urn, which starts out red, green, green. Not insane. Like, I think the Chalice is actually worth going for on the Remembrance. And the Remembrance is also really good to go for because it's a skill check. It's a 1v1 in an arena. If you can't beat the enemy with Raider, then that's also kind of the get good until you can. You're going to have to learn how the Raider works if you want to complete the journal, because that Elder Lion is a pretty tough fight. So it teaches you that patience, that dodging, the opportunity exploits, and then using your Retaliate perfectly. And then you can just kind of like stat up until you get into your ultimate ability, use that to finish it off, or again, clutch out with the invulnerability. And now you've learned how to play Raider. So, hope you guys enjoy the video. Hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.